Get ready with me while I tell you about my personal experience with abortion. I grew up as a goody two-shoes Catholic girl, wanted to be a nun, wanted to save myself for marriage, the whole 9 yards. When I was 18, I got pregnant with my first child while on birth control, the pill. On my 20-week anatomy scan, the doctor noticed that there was something wrong with my daughter's heart, so she sent me to a specialist. At 24 weeks pregnant, I found out that my unborn daughter had a congenital heart defect known as pulmonary atresia. There's no known specific cause, and it can also come with an array of other issues. So at 19 years old, 24 weeks pregnant, I was given the option to have a medical abortion. I declined. My daughter was born in February 2009. She survived 6 weeks. I watched her fight her entire life, hooked up to a ventilator, unable to breathe on her own. I watched her cardiac arrest multiple times. I watched her be life-flighted. I watched her have a stroke. I spent many hours waiting while she had numerous heart procedures. She was a very strong fighter, but she passed away at 6 weeks old. I buried my firstborn daughter when I was 19 years old. At 20 years old, I was still on the birth control pill, started in a relationship, soon found out I was pregnant. He wanted me to have an abortion. Absolutely not. How could I do that? How could I kill my baby after I already put one in the ground? So I kept my baby and stayed in an absolutely abusive relationship for 1.5 years until he almost broke my jaw and I left when my baby was 5 months old. As a single mom at 21 with no help from the father because he lived in a different state, child support couldn't go after him, I busted my ass getting my license as a nurse's aide and wiped butts 24/7. A short time later, when my daughter was 9 months old, I ended up receiving an IUD as a form of birth control, and I dipped my toe back into the dating pool. Wouldn't you know it, after one time, and damn, he was a 3-pump chump too, didn't even get satisfied from it, took a pregnancy test and I was pregnant. I reached out to the guy I was seeing, he didn't believe this could possibly be true, and he ghosted me. While I was agonizing over what to do, I was developing severe pain in my pelvis area and I began to bleed. So I took myself to the ER. Found out not only was about 5 weeks pregnant, I also had pelvic inflammatory disease caused by the IUD. As a single mom with no help, doubled over in pain from a device that was supposed to keep me from being pregnant, I made the decision to take out the IUD and abort the pregnancy. It's a decision I still think about, but I do not regret it one bit. It is what I needed to do, not only for myself, but for my 9-month-old daughter. Fast forward a few years, I met my husband, we have a son. 2017, we suffered a miscarriage. Now, this was not any normal miscarriage, this is what is called a blighted ovum. I was pregnant, my husband's sperm fertilized my egg, and my body was growing a baby. However, call it a fluke, call it God's damnation for choosing to have an abortion years prior, even though I was pregnant, no baby ever formed, and it was an empty sac. To quote the doctor, "There's no baby, just a lot of debris floating around in there." I was devastated and given the option to allow my body to miscarry naturally. When I was 12 weeks pregnant, so just entering my 2nd trimester, my body did not realize that there was no baby. Instead, it still acted like I was pregnant and didn't abort it on its own. So I had to have a medically induced abortion, also known as a D&C. With the issues being thrown around by the government, I am unsure if I would have been allowed to have a D&C. Since there wasn't an actual baby and heartbeat, they may have allowed me to go through with it, or they may not have. Since my body was still telling everybody I was pregnant, my blood work was showing up pregnant, I was gaining weight, my uterus was growing, who knows what could have happened. I remember waking up from that D&C and the very first thing before my eyes were open, I asked the nurse, "Are you sure there was no baby in there?" And she said, "No baby, honey." A year later, I found out I was pregnant with twins, but I lost one. I had a miscarriage, what was called an invisible twin. So that's my story. I'm not sharing because I'm proud or boasting about the decisions I made. I'm sharing because there's not enough real life abortion experiences. And that is okay because nobody owes you anything. I'm sharing because out of all of those decisions I had to make, the decision was mine and mine alone. And nobody had power to say what I got to do with my body or my life. If abortion is banned, what comes next?